I call the August 22nd Planning Commission meeting to order, and I'd ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Secretary Moore, will you take the roll?
Zuzak, Kaluza.
Here.
Tinsley.
Here.
Zimmer.
Here.
Eink.
Here.
Travis.
Here.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the minutes. In our packets, we had the July 18th Planning Commission meeting minutes and the August 1st work session minutes. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll let those stand as they are. Do we have any announcements, Ms. Jensen?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. This evening we have two handouts for you. One is my memo about future and Planning Commission agenda items, as well as a summary of City Council actions on planning items. And then we have a letter from Alicia Perkins regarding the proposed zoning text amendment. And then for the announcements, after this meeting, we will adjourn to the Marion Conference Room in a work session, and our next Planning Commission meeting will be September 5th. And that's it for announcements.
Thank you very much. Everybody note that for your calendar. Next meeting, September 5th. Okay, the next item is a public hearing on the zoning text amendment. And to present that, we have Ms. Goodrow.
Good evening. So yes, tonight is the text amendment to add the cannabis uses to the zoning ordinance. We talked about this at our last work session. Just as an overview, we all know that the legalization of cannabis was signed into law last year. This latest legislative session, there was approval, or they created legislation for special pre-approval for some specific license types that are listed in the ordinance. One of those, particularly related to cannabis, growing of cannabis, is something that will get approved through a lottery draw yet this year. And so it's necessary for us to include the different uses into the zoning district. All of the other license types, and specifically the retail, will not be able to start operation or licenses get approved by OCM until the rules are adopted. And those rules are in draft form by OCM. So OCM, or the Office of Cannabis Management, is responsible for all of the licensing, and it's split basically between cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and retail, or what some people will call dispensaries. Cities are responsible for the registration. Statute also requires that a city allow for one retail registration per 12,500 residents. So in Lakeville, that means 6. The City Council has discussed and will be capping it initially at 6, and that will be something that's in the city code versus in the zoning ordinance. They'll reevaluate once they see what the level of interest that occurs in Lakeville. The statute basically preempts most of our ability to do much in control for these uses, but we do have control when it comes to zoning. And so tonight we're here to review the zoning text amendment. We reviewed the different license types at our last work session, as well as earlier in the year, and talked about, again, generally the categories of growing, creating, manufacturing, distribution would fall like any other industrial district or any other industrial use within our industrial districts, and the retail component or dispensaries will fall within our retail districts. A new Chapter 38 was created to provide a central location for some performance standards, as well as reference to the state statute and the OCM rules. So we're not regurgitating all of the OCM rules that get created, we're referencing those. So anytime that changes, whether it's in the statute or the rules, that would then apply to any of our users or new applicants. I worked closely with our city attorney on this draft, and she supports the draft. Again, the draft contains definitions, as well as that new Chapter 38, again, which references the statute and OCM rules. And then it goes zoning district by zoning district to introduce the different uses within those different zoning districts. In addition to that, as a little aside, because we are working on different zoning districts and we advertise the public hearing to include the central business district, while we were preparing this amendment and putting all of these materials together for the packet, we did have a request come up late for a standalone tattoo salon use within our central business district. Cosmetic tattooing is already allowed as an accessory use to a licensed barber or beauty salon. This particular user has a spot in downtown Lakeville, but wants to be a sole operator and not attached to a salon. And so in order to do that and have that distinct use, we need to add that as a separate standalone use. Having tattoo as a use within that district, as well as in our other commercial districts where it currently is allowed, was something that we are already planning on adding when we do another batch of what we consider our general updates. But rather than waiting, since we had a user ready to go, we decided, based on the way the public hearing was prepared, vague enough that we could add this use. So that's the little add-on paragraph tonight. So when you go through the ordinance, you'll notice majority of it is all related to cannabis, except within the central business district, and you'll see that one on page 6. We did add tattoo salon as a permitted use. And I would stand for any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
Quick question about the limit of 6. Does that apply only to the retail
Yes,
as opposed to all the other wholesaler, grower, cultivator?
just 6. Yep, just the retail.
This is a public hearing. Seeing that there's nobody here for the public hearing, I would be, unless there's someone on the phone.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
motion to close the public hearing. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion, opposed? Motion prevails. Thank you very much. Any additional questions for Ms. Goodrow on the CBD amendment or the additional commercial business district tattooing zoning?
Sure. Just one quick
Yes,
question.
sir.
Ms. Goodrow, just to make sure I understand this, standalone tattoos are allowed elsewhere, just not in the central district?
Correct.
And this would just make it consistent with everything else?
Exactly.
Thank you.
I would have one question. Are the hours limited, or is that I can't remember what all of our requirements are?
I do not believe so. Ms. Jensen could clarify. I don't know if you know off the top of your head.
I don't believe there are restrictions on the hours of operation.
All right. There are no other questions. I think it looks like we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Kaluza?
I motion to recommend approval of the proposed zoning ordinance text amendments as presented.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner Tinsley. Would you please take the roll, Secretary Morrow?
Zuzak.
Aye.
Kaluza.
Aye.
Tinsley.
Aye.
Zimmer.
Aye.
Ing.
Aye.
Travis.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I think we're done with that one. And let's see, staff notes. This item will be considered, it looks like September 3rd. Is that correct, Ms. Johnson?
The tattoo portion of the amendment will be considered at the September 3rd City Council meeting. The cannabis ordinance amendment will wait until the rest of the city code language is ready to be reviewed and adopt or considered by council, so it will all go together, and that will be at a meeting later this September, October.
Thank you so much. I don't believe there's any other business before us, so I would adjourn. And adjourn to the Marion Conference Room for our work session.
9 minutes, good job.